What we see in the experiences is always but a fraction of it. As we become more aware, we are provided additional information through our real awareness that the scene itself lacks, and that which we could not possibly have known based on what is occurring visually in the experience environment. My real awareness afforded me impressions that this was an individual in dire straits on the real side, and she had been extended a kind of safe haven to allow for her recovery. Every situation we find ourselves in is by our own construction. As the deciders of our experience, there is nothing that can feature in our lives unless we have decided on and agreed to it. The effects of our realities stemming from our own chosen cause creations, or those ideas we have agreed to and decided on, created by others. And so we must very much take responsibility for what we create, but also consider how it is through our creations that we effect experience that allows for more viewpoints and comparisons to recognize the ears through, so no experience can be construed as wasteful or pointless, unless, that is, we keep repeating the same cause and effect experiences, and if we do that, we cannot become aware of anything beyond the routines of our perpetually repetitive created realities. An individual can certainly find themselves in unenviable situations created by their decisions, but also these can be inadvertent effects we have brought onto ourselves, generally through a lack of awareness, as we trial and error our way through our process, trying to make sense of everything and balance the personal self, and get it under some kind of control and focus, with the real intent of is recognition. If the intent is set, the individual sincere, then the guides will assist the individual if they are in dire straits, and perhaps here in this experience, this woman had placed herself in rather a predicament, but her real intent was concrete, and so it's as though the guides had afforded her a recovery place on the real side, in the relative safety of this particular house, as were my impressions. As very often individuals making poor life choices will be tormented, attacked, and taplined on the real side, so it followed that an individual who had made such an error of decision judgment would have been placed in a safe area, for if their real intent was maintained overall, it wouldn't make sense to leave such a person so exposed and vulnerable. What we decide through the personal self may take a while for the effects to show up on the physical, but they are instantly so on the real side. All the Ekankar members, as an example, may seem okay on the physical, but you would undoubtedly see them as the instant effect of what they are deciding and agreeing to on the real side. They would be reptilian, festooned with tap lines, and look in very poor health. It's as though the real side is absent of the cause and effect equation in a way. You simply are instantly what you decide, without any time frames between decision and outcome. As an individual on their process of awareness, perhaps I would have recognized this individual, had it not been for the fact that she wasn't the individual that was supposed to be housed here. She surely was pretending to be so. She had assumed the very form of the genuine individual that was being afforded assistance, but I could see through the surface mimicry. The genuine individual had the appearance of someone much older and very frail. Not necessarily that they have this appearance on the physical, but that they are the instant effects of what they had decided. And this individual, as I said, seems to have made a miscalculated decision error, and the real side consequence was her looking and being very weak and lacking mobility. And yes, the outward appearance of this individual was just that, of a frail-looking older woman, but my real awareness could see an underlying individual, and this imposter, beneath the outward surface mimicry, was a far younger woman, and certainly far from requiring any assistance. It was indeed as though I could perceive an underlying younger woman beneath an externally projected form, an external form that was of the individual who was supposed to be here. The imposter would realize that I had seen through her deception. She didn't seem particularly concerned, and in fact started to cause disruption, rampaging through the house, knocking everything askew, and causing general mayhem. Seemingly satisfied with her mess, she would fade away. A few moments later, the actual, genuine woman who had been afforded this safe haven would return. She flew into an almighty rage as to the mess of the house, very much abrasive in her attitudes. But we must consider that this is understandable, given the circumstances. If indeed this individual had been through a lot, made poor decisions, and suffered as a consequence, was a little out of sorts, and very much fighting to restore her connection to her real awareness, climbing back from the mire of the personal self, then she undoubtedly will be a little personal self emotionally inclined. In the face of any experience and situation, we must be conscious to maintain our indifference, and not allow ourselves to be pulled into our personal selves through any emotional reaction, to not allow ourselves to create any emotional idea and add it to the overall idea creation that is featuring in our experience. In other words, to remain indifferent and objective is to maintain this nowness state, which is our real awareness, which is the true reality, aside from creation and all the ideas that make up its construction. If we create thought and emotion ideas in response to created ideas that feature as our experiences, then we step into the effects of our personal self-creations. We are removed from our real awareness, being isness states, but only for as long as we choose to continue to do so. In other words, we would seek not to be drawn into argument or altercation, for these are just an exchange of created ideas, and to do so would have both participants sit in the effect reality of this combined personal self-bubble, and removed from the real awareness is position. A continued practice then, and sometimes we have better days than others. We remain in the nowness of the ease to greater degrees than at other moments, and here I was receiving quite the berating by this woman, to the extent that I became rather disenchanted, fed up, and decided to leave the house. But then 2 other men manifested in the house, and tried to settle the situation, generally trying to calm the irate woman, but also trying to persuade me not to leave the house. These 2 men both had a strong awareness, and were probably the guides. When we step into the emotions of the personal self, we can lose our real awareness ability to discern intent, and also to determine the genuine guides from the shape-shifting reptilians. But the overall behaviour of these men suggested these were the guides. Seems that whoever the disruptive imposter female was had somehow infiltrated this house, and set wheels in motion that would ensure an almighty argument be the result.